Hi, Andrew from SACS. Effective leadership is all about behaviours. We now know from research that people who are effective leaders behave differently from leaders who are not so effective. Forget about philosophies, forget about values, forget about all of that sort of stuff. Yes, those things might guide behaviours, but what we really need to see from leaders is effective behaviours. This is a brief video to explain what those behaviours are. So here's the results of a very significant study that SACS undertook in partnership with Deakin University here in Australia. We measured the levels of engagement of employees, and we measured a bunch of behaviours that were related to employees being highly engaged. Now, we measured about 15 or 20 of these behaviours, but we found that there was 10 in particular that were very relevant to the way that leaders effectively led, in such a way that it caused their employees to be highly engaged. Why engagement? Well, engagement is a really good predictor of important outcomes at work. External outcomes like profit and productivity and customer satisfaction, internal outcomes like staff turnover and well-being and happiness of employees. So engagement's a good predictor of organisational outcomes. And we found that there were 4 key behaviours of leaders that really drove the levels of engagement of employees. And those were, firstly, empowerment. So if leaders are able to empower their staff, and that literally means I won't decide everything for you, I want you to be involved in making decisions about important stuff at work. Empowerment is really important. The second is optimism and positivity. Why optimism and positivity? Well, the whole proposition of leadership is about giving an organism a better chance at a future. So why do certain wolves follow other wolves? Why do certain ducks follow other ducks? Well, to get a better chance of being safe and being well fed and being secure and having good relationships with the other animals in their group. Human beings are no different from that. Leaders need to be optimistic and positive. And I sometimes think of this concept of authentic leadership. Well, if you're authentically a negative person, don't share that with your staff because they want you to be optimistic and positive. And a good leader should be somebody who focuses on the potential of the group. Hey, we can get this done. I have confidence in us. That's a thing that a guy called Albert Bandura called self-efficacy, a belief that we as a group can do it. The next is being supportive. Well, it's not surprising at all to know that good leaders are supportive. Supportive in a human sense, like yes, you can have time off to do that, and it's your daughter's birthday and you're not feeling well and all of those sorts of things, but also supportive in a career sense. If you've recruited the right people, they want to advance their career. So good leaders should be supportive about helping them to advance their career. And then finally, creating a learning environment. Now, creating a learning environment is all about giving people an opportunity to feel passionate about their work. If you think about the times you've felt passionate about your work, I'll guarantee that it was a time when you were learning something. Now, of course, if you look on the left-hand side here, you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff associated with accountability, so creating clarity about appropriate behaviours, creating clarity about performance standards, making sure that if people are not meeting the standards of behaviour or of performance, that we do something about it. So people want a disciplined workplace in the sense of one that's really clear what we stand for and where they feel that they're going to be safe, but also it's a winner, that it's an organisation or a team that's going to succeed. But talking about the actual style of leadership, there are really 3 models of leadership in terms of how people can interact with their staff. The first is model 1, where you're leading in a top-down fashion. Now, it's absolutely crucial that leaders are able to do this. If you have an employee that is doing the wrong thing, you need to be able to say, listen, we need you to act in this way in future, not in this way. Or if somebody's new to their job, well, you have to show them. You don't ask them what they want to do. You show them this is how you do your job. So top-down leadership is absolutely crucial. The second is consultation. And consultation is where we go to our employees and we ask their opinions and we say, what do you think we should do about this? What do you think we should do about this? And you go to, let's say, 4, as in this case, 4 staff and ask them their opinions. And then you make up your own mind. Consultation is where we ask people's opinions, but we make up our own minds. And the third style of leadership is facilitation. Now, in facilitative leadership, we don't bring the solution. We bring a process and we evoke the solution from the group. And you'll see that in this group, there are 10 employees, and you'll notice that they are convened in sort of small subgroups. And that's a really important thing for a facilitative leader to do. The true facilitative leader sets the scene in terms of here's a challenge that we've got, or here's an opportunity that we should pursue. And then they run a process where they break the group up into small groups and give them an opportunity in those small groups to discuss the challenge or the opportunity, and then to come back to the larger group and say, well, this is what we think we should do. And they might come up with, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 solutions each. And then the true facilitative leader runs this like a democratic exercise, where the true facilitative leader will cause them to vote for the solution that they think will work best to address this challenge or to pursue this opportunity. And then the true facilitative leader supports that and, in effect, makes sure that, firstly, there's good accountability in the sense of, okay, when are we going to do this by, and who's going to lead it and who's going to follow it. But the true facilitative leader supports the idea that comes out of the group once the group has reconvened and thought about and voted for the range of solutions. Now, Model 3 leadership causes high levels of engagement amongst people, but it also comes up with good solutions. You know, most leaders in the West oscillate between top-down leadership and consultation, Model 1 and Model 2, and very few use facilitative leadership all that often. Not surprisingly, facilitative leadership leads to much higher levels of engagement and well-being amongst employees, but as well as that, it also transfers skills into those employees. They build their confidence about how to tackle these sorts of challenges or opportunities, and so they come to address issues more with solutions than problems. So, those are some key behaviours of effective leaders. As ever, if this content is of use to you, then like and subscribe.